girls around the world, these videos are their reality. Female genital mutilation, also known as FGM, is a destructive operation, during which the female genitals are partly or entirely removed with the aim of inhibiting a woman's sexual feelings. Female genital mutilation has no health benefits, and on the contrary, can bring about a myriad of health problems for women.
The operation has been condemned by many governments and international agencies, and although many African countries have laws outlawing the practice, perpetrators are rarely prosecuted. A common trend also seen in countries with significant rates of FGM is a lack of education on menstrual hygiene management, also referred to as MHM. Girls in these areas are not given the opportunity to learn how to properly care for themselves during menses, and often do not have the proper facilities or products to do so. There are very few programs currently being put in place to combat these issues.
It is the government's responsibility to its citizens to ensure their health can be maintained. Many governments, however, are failing at providing that reassurance for women. We will be taking a closer look at how female genital mutilation and menstrual hygiene management is handled in Egypt, Ethiopia, and Kenya, discovering the risks that women in these areas are faced with, what initiatives their governments have taken, and what measures the government should be taking to ensure equality of healthcare.
The systematic oppression of women since the dawn of civilization itself is the main rationale behind why female genital mutilation still exists today. Tribal and religious beliefs consider suppressing a woman's sexual feelings and femininity a prerequisite of them reaching adulthood, and many governments fail at stopping the practice due to the lack of education and advocacy for women's health.
There are three types of FGM as defined by the UN Eliminating Female Genital Mutilation Statement: Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3, the severity increasing with each type. According to the U.S. Department of State, Type 2 FGM is the most common in Egypt, Ethiopia, and Kenya, with Egypt having the highest prevalence rate at 91%. Female genital mutilation is a violation of human rights and an inhumane practice. For the sake of all female citizens, this oppressive tradition must be stopped.
Women in Egypt, Kenya, and Ethiopia are not given the same educational opportunities on MHM that women around the world are given. This is because there is great shame associated with menses in these countries. In Kenya, only 12% of girls would be comfortable to receive advice on menstrual hygiene from their mother. Improper menstrual hygiene management can lead to many health issues, such as urinary tract infections and maternal complications.
Not only is it a rarity for women to be educated on their health concerns, but women and girls are not provided with accessible and sterile materials to use during menstruation. Most commonly, women will utilize a reusable rag, which will most likely not be washed properly with soap or clean water. In more dire situations, though, mud, leaves, and animal feces will be used.
Female citizens are just as deserving as male citizens to be able to maintain their health without a stigma surrounding it.
Unfortunately, there have been few measures taken by the governments of Egypt, Ethiopia, and Kenya to stop these harmful practices against women. There are no specific laws against FGM in these countries, and only a handful of individuals in Egypt have ever been punished for carrying out the act.
In terms of menstrual hygiene management, very little is being done by Egypt and Ethiopia, but according to NPR, Kenya has introduced a program which hands out sanitation pads to schoolgirls in low-income communities. Tampons and pads are also tax-free in Kenya, but only 46% of women in Kenya report having all the products and facilities they need to manage their menstrual cycle.
In order for change to take place, there must be a shift in attitude in regards to women. Firstly, governments need to educate themselves and their officials on the inalienable rights that women deserve, and how they can implement laws and programs to sustain those rights. Education on the societal as well as economical impacts that women have on communities can provide an incentive for these governments to enact change for a future more directed towards equality.
Secondly, the mindsets of communities must be reformed and modernized. This can be achieved through government-sponsored education programs. WaterAid's response plan outlines the specifics of possible educational programs, such as a women's health course directed by a female instructor with joint attendance from all sexes in a community. Policies such as these will give citizens a greater understanding of why women's rights are important and must be under the same protection as men's rights.
Finally, a big step that each country can take is outlawing FGM specifically and pledging to enforce the law with utmost urgency. Creating laws that specifically punish individuals that perform FGM will create a disincentive to practice it. No matter what the circumstance, a government has a duty to provide an equal form of healthcare for all of its citizens, regardless of sex. Admitting and identifying such issues is the biggest step. Implementing and conducting programs and initiatives to combat these concerns will not only benefit the citizens, but the country as a whole.